Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for Coffee and Card at Home. So this week we are starting a new month with a new set, and we're using the Happy Hedgehogs set, which coordinates with the hedgehog punch as well. Today we're actually not using any hedgehogs, we're using the tree mostly, and then a couple of other little bits and some sentiments. So what you're going to need is a C6 card base. And I'm actually using I've used a couple in two different colours today. So these are some of our in colour cards with the in colour DSP to go with them. So I've used the same colour card as the DSP to match them, but you don't have to do that. You could use a white piece of card if you wanted to instead. And I think colours for these are, just to remind myself, we have got the soft succulent, and I'm trying to remember what our other one is. It will probably come to me at the end, but if I can't remember, then I will list it obviously in the instructions on the YouTube channel what colour it is. So let's make a start on those. I'm going to do this one, but obviously, as you can see, it's perfectly possible to do the tree in a portrait position, and I've done that with the butterfly, and this one we're going to do in a landscape position and use the bird. So I'm going to take my card base first of all, and that's half an A4 sheet scored at 10.5 centimetres. I'm just going to burnish my fold first of all, and then I've cut my piece of DSP to be exactly the same size as the card front. I don't very often do that, I often cut it smaller, but I wanted it to be able to be shown across the whole of the card, and it's up to you which side you want to use, whether you want to use that side or that side. So I think for this one, I'm going to use the side that looks like it's got flowers on. On my other one, I use the check side, but it's entirely up to you. Obviously, if you're doing it portrait, landscape, you might just want to think about which way you're positioning it as well. So we just stuck that down with Tombow, and that is going to be that way. And then we're just going to put our white piece of card for our stamping on top of that. And I've made that a little bit smaller than I normally do for a layer. So this is actually 13.8 by 9.5 centimetres. And we're just going to put our card base to the side for a second, and we're going to do our stamping. So let me get it the right way around. We're going to do it our landscape way. So I'm just using black Memento ink. If you wanted to do watercolouring with this, then you would just need to use Stays On ink and just use a different piece of card. You could use the shimmery white card. So once I've inked that up, I'm just going to put that down on there. And the reason we're not using the watercolours is I'm going to use one of the alcohol blender pens to colour it in with the watercolour pencils, so it's a little bit different. Actually, whilst I've just got my ink out, I'm going to stamp my bird. Just need to grab. So it can be whatever bird you want it to be. I've done mine like a robin, but entirely up to you. And I'm just going to pop him at the side there, and so he looks like he's standing on something. I'm just going to use the tiny stamp that's got a little bit of grass. Just pop a bit of that around him so that he's not sort of standing in midair, as it were. And then whilst I've got that ink out, I'm also going to stamp my sentiment. And I've cut a piece of card that is the same colour as my base card. So this is a piece of the soft succulent. And this measures, I think, just double check, this is, yes, a couple of centimetres wide, and obviously any length that you want. And I'm just going to use the sentiment that says, "It's so nice of you to be so nice." And I'm going to just stamp that on there. And then you can choose how you want to attach that, whether you want to use dimensionals or just some Tombow. And also whether you want to leave the end straight or whether you want to flag the end. So we can always come back to doing that in a second when we've done our colouring in. So next we're going to colour in. I'm using some of the watercolour pencils. I've got a little selection here. These are all from the first pack of watercolour pencils. But obviously we have some nice colours in the second set as well. So I'm just going to get some red, which is real red, onto my robin's tummy, and then a little bit of early espresso on the body. You don't have to be too precise, because the nice thing about using the blender pen in a minute is if your colouring isn't particularly neat, you can go over it with the blender pen and it blends it all in beautifully, and you'll see that in a second. So I'm now just going to continue to use the brown on the trunk of the tree, and I'm just also putting a little bit of colour on these slightly thinner branches. But you could also do green with that. Then I'm colouring in my leaves in Old Olive. You can see I'm not being especially precise, just getting a little bit of colour on there. And then a little bit of green on the grass, and I'm just going a bit beyond that as well. And then over here, a bit of green on this grass as well, and I've put a little bit under the robin's feet, and then a little bit just on the bird's beak. I just need to give him a bit of colour on his beak there. Then I'm using pumpkin pie in the centres of the flowers. And then I'm using Calypso Coral just to add a little bit of colour to my flowers, but I'm not colouring in the whole of my flower, just a little bit on the buds as well, just to make it look like it's kind of got a little bit of colour, but it's predominantly sort of a white flower with a little bit of colour. Just missed a green bit there. So once you, oh, I need to do my flower over here, sorry, that the robin's holding. Okay. So once you've done that, we're just going to take one of our alcohol blender pens, and we're just going to colour those bits in. So the key thing to remember with this is when you're colouring in, you need to stick with the same colour for the whole thing. So I've decided to do my green first. Don't worry too much if you go out of the lines, because actually it adds to the kind of nice free watercolour type effect if it does go slightly out of the lines. And then I'm just going to colour that bit of grass at the bottom, and then same with the grass over here for the robin. And then when you've finished all your green, just scrub it on your grid paper at the side so that you don't take any green onto your next colour. So this time I'm doing the brown for the tree trunk and branches. can use it again for my bird's body. And you can see that I had some lines just blending away with the blender pen. That's the nice thing about it. So if you've been a bit quick, then suddenly all these lines will disappear. So that was my orange done. And then now I'm just going to do those little bits of pink on my flowers, and it just blends those in nicely. It kind of makes them look like they have some nice little sort of pink veins to them. There we go. So that's all done. It should dry fairly quickly as well. So I'm going to stick that now onto my card base. So a little bit of Tombow on the back. Just bring my card base back and then just position it so that you've got an equal space all the way around the outside. And then the only thing left to do is to just put on our sentiment. Now for this one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to flag the end and I'm going to have it coming out from the side here. So just to flag my end, I'm just going to cut in the middle a little slit part way, and then from the corner to the top of that slit, and then the corner to the top of that slit again. And then I'm just going to look at how far I want it to come out, so about there. So I'm just going to give myself a little mark with a pencil so I know where to cut it. And if you think you can cut it straight with your scissors, then go for it. If you're not so sure, then use a paper trimmer. And then I'm finally just going to stick those on with some dimensionals, just the way you should do. Peel the back off that, and then use your grid lines at the side to help you line that up. There we go, and that card is finished. So if I bring back my other ones to show you, you'll see actually you can create quite a quick and easy card, not too much time at all. So there we have our one in portrait with butterfly flying away, and these two have been done obviously in landscape with our little bird at the bottom. So just a quick recap of what I've used. I've used the Happy Hedgehogs stamp set, and we've used the tree, the robin and the butterfly stamps, as well as the little grass stamp at the bottom and a sentiment from there too. We have stamped with Memento black ink, and we've coloured in with the first set of watercolour pencils and used a blender pen to blend that. And our adhesives have been Tombow and dimensionals, and I'll list all of that at the bottom of my YouTube video as well for you to recap on sizes and things like that as well. So if I can help with anything, please drop me a message. If you'd like to place an order for any of the things that you've seen me use today, again, please drop me a message, or you can go to stampinup.uk and place an order with Claire Humphries as your demonstrator. And I look forward to seeing you next week when we'll be continuing to use the Happy Hedgehogs, and we'll be using the punch next week. Anyway, have a great week, take care, and I'll see you then. Bye.